up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York, and on the phone we got Nick from Paradise Lost. Thank you for your time today, man. I appreciate it.
Hey man, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. You know, again, I envy that the UK is having all the nice weather while it's been raining almost every single day here in New York City. I'm glad that the nice weather came after you guys and My Dying Bride finished your recent albums.
Yeah, I mean, it never stays nice for too long in England anyway. I mean, everyone kind of freaks out and they start wearing the shorts, but you're back in the long pants like a week, a couple of weeks. It never lasts. It rains a lot more than it is sunny, so.
Yeah, which I think plays a role into your music. So, again, if you started songwriting now, I wouldn't recommend it.
No, I mean, I write all my stuff in the cellar anyway, so it could be any kind of weather. It makes a difference to me anyway, so.
All right, that's good to hear. That's really good to hear. This new album, Obsidian, that's scheduled to come out next week, do you consider this just picking up where you left off after Medusa? Like, do you conceptually consider it a follow-up to Medusa, or is this still kind of like a new start for Paradise Lost in a way?
I think we wanted to make the album a bit more varied than Medusa, because Medusa is a very specific doom death album, and that's pretty much we wanted every song to be very much in that kind of vein, and they all are apart from one song. But this one there's more different kind of styles. We've done a lot of different styles over the years. Obviously everything under the hood that is Paradise Lost, but we just wanted to, we didn't want to repeat the same album as the last one and do, every song of a similar vein. This song's very much reminiscent of the last album, particularly Fall From Grace, which was the first song we wrote for this album. So that's, it's very reminiscent of the last one. But as the album kind of goes on a bit, there's certainly a lot more styles, in there, I think.
Yeah, so you don't consider Fall From Grace to that doesn't just serve as like a clear representation of what the whole album is going to sound like, right? That's just the tip of the iceberg.
I don't think that any song represents the album, because they're all pretty different, I mean, Ghosts, the second song that we did as a single, is very different to the Fall From Grace, and every song's pretty different, really. I don't think you can generalize one song to pin the whole thing down,
Yeah, of course. Well, as a fan of Paradise Lost, I think if you were to play me like a small segment of a song, I could tell that that's off of Host, or that's off of Faith Divides Us, Death Unites Us, or Symbol of Life, Believe in Nothing, etc. So it's fair to say that you guys always like to try new things and experiment with your sound as much as possible, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's as long as it's got to be very dark and very heavy, and heaviness isn't just about volume or noise. There can be a lot more depth in experiment with different guitar sounds, for example. Not everything has to have the same pedal on it. So there's lots of also you miss a lot of subtlety as well when everything's just super banging and super heavy and in the traditional sense. It's nice to experiment with what you got,
Yeah, definitely. I was interviewing, I interviewed Aaron 2 years ago on the North American tour you did with Solstafir, and he was saying, the darkness is always the most essential part, but you have many different languages of expressing that said darkness.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something we're really into, the music that we like is always going to be like that, we're not into we're not into music that's regarded as cheerful and happy music. I find that more depressing, if anything. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's just we do like the darkness,
Yeah. Well, when you look at the entirety of the Paradise Lost catalog, when you compare Lost Paradise to Obsidian now, is it almost kind of like a timeline or maybe a self-portrait of who you are at that particular time? Is it almost kind of like a self-portrait?
I suppose it is. I mean, each thing you do represents, you give it your best shot as you do it. I mean, we certainly haven't done anything, that we regret. I mean, I know a lot of artists look back at certain points in their career and they kind of like cringe, or they're like, oh my god, and I just don't understand that, because everyone's young and everyone does things when they're young, and you change as you get older, and the band runs alongside our personal lives, and it's like a snapshot of who we were at that time. So yeah, I mean, it's part of it's certainly that was the first chapter, I guess,
Mm-hmm. When it comes to writing lyrics, do you need to hear music in order to come up with the lyrics, or has there ever been a time where maybe you have a concept or a story in mind, and maybe that can help determine the composition of the actual music?
I'd like to hear the music. I like to have music when I write. I mean, the lyrics are written specifically for the songs. I would never take them away from that. You know, for me, it's adding another layer to the existing song. So it's about another. You know, when I listen to music and it puts me in a certain place in my mind, and I like to use words that fit in specific parts of the songs where I think they work and they sound good. So I mean, I would never take them off the song. You know, it's all parcel package as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, are your lyrics often open to interpretation, or do you try to maybe like convey a certain concept or a certain emotion for the listener to see things from your point of view?
No, my lyrics are very ambiguous. I mean, I always, as a teenager, I loved ambiguous lyrics. I like songs lyrics that are very specific, but only if they're incredibly well written, and a lot of times they're not. And it's ambiguity is so much more fun, and it makes the whole thing more escapist. You know, I like that element of music. You know, I don't like. I mean, you can maybe pin down for certain sections where you think, okay, well, this is about this, but then on the next verse, you might drift off into something else. So yeah, ambiguity is a good thing, I think, in this music.
Yeah, because I remember when you announced the title for Medusa, a lot of people were maybe thinking that it would be like a concept album on Greek mythology or something like that.
That would be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but obviously, you know, that's just a character that you were expressing in the album.
Yeah, no, I've got nothing. I mean, a lot of metal bands write about specific, and it's great, you know. But I've always liked them all. Like say, when I got into Celtic Frost in the late '80s, I used to love Tom Giori's lyrics because they were really, you didn't know what he was on about, you know. I really like that aspect of it, you know.
Yeah. When it comes to getting like inspired to write, do you almost kind of need to put yourself in a certain element or a certain like atmosphere in order for ideas to flow, or does inspiration for the music sometimes come out of nowhere?
I generally have to be in a very positive mood, really. I like to be in a good mood. I find feeling good is creative. You know, I don't feel creative when I feel down. I mean, I know a lot of people perhaps are their most creative when they're in a bad space, but for me, that's a negative thing, and I don't get anything from feeling down. Being positive helps write the most kind of depressing lyrics, I suppose.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of one of those, I guess.
Well, some people love to use the term, like I've said this term before, a lot of people tend to use pain as a paintbrush. So I like, that's interesting.
Yeah, you definitely can. I mean, you can, think of experiences you've heard about, and then you can bring them in to what you're writing. But the actual process, as you're feeling at the time, in real time when you're writing them, it certainly doesn't, for me, it's not good to be in a bad way. It's better, to be up a beat, I think.
Yeah, and if you rely too much on that darkness, you can almost get lost in it to the point where you feel like you almost have to like look for trouble in order for inspiration to come.
Yeah, I mean, it's once I stop writing lyrics, I turn off my computer or whatever, then I'm done with it. I don't think about them afterwards. They're very much part of it's just the whole writing process for me. Is part of just creating the music and the lyrics and everything. It's all part of the whole thing. When I come away from it, I don't really think about it.
Yeah. To my listeners, by the way, they're doing maintenance on my building, so if you hear some background noise in the drills, I do apologize for that. I don't know why they chose a national pandemic to start reworking the walls on my apartment. Yeah. Now, being such a prolific artist, as a lot of people know, you sing with Bloodbath, but you've collaborated with artists such as Leave Kristen and Trees of Eternity and Frontline Assembly and stuff. When you work with another band, is it almost a completely different mind frame, or is there a usual like method behind the madness that applies to everything?
I don't know. I've been lucky. I mean, I've always been like, working with Bloodbath. I'm good friends with those guys, and that's the best foundation for anything, really. We're all good friends. We have a good laugh, and it makes everything so easy to do, and there's no friction or anything. And also, we're on the same management as well, so there's kind of no problem sorting out gigs and crossing over timelines and things. So, but yeah. I haven't done that much, really. I mean, spread out over 32 years. There's not that many collaborations, I guess. But the last 5 years, obviously, the regular one has been Bloodbath. But I mean, that's been, so I can't even believe it's 5 years. It's gone so quickly. But it's been, it's such a good. It's a different kind of mindset to PL, but it's certainly a lot of fun, and we all enjoy doing it.
Yeah. Do you almost like when it comes to Bloodbath, like, is it almost expressing a different side of you personally than what we normally see in Paradise Lost?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's very much got me back into the old school death metal stuff, which I kind of. I wouldn't say it was kind of been on the shelf for a few years for me. I know Greg in PL, he got very much back into it kind of before I did. Obviously, as a teenager growing up, I was obsessed with it for many years. So yeah, it's kind of re-dusted off all that whole scene for me, and I really love the old bands again. It's great listening to the old stuff that we listened to growing up. So yeah, it's revitalised that aspect of music that I kind of I grew a little bit tired of it around the kind of mid-90s, but now it's really nice, slice of nostalgia to kind of delve back into all those old bands.
Yeah, kind of going back into the lyrics, since Paradise Lost is so melodic, and then Bloodbath is absolutely relentless. Do you maybe almost adjust the lyrics depending on the usage of your voice that you're incorporating?
Well, I mean, it's I always call it death metal rapping with Bloodbath, because it's all about timing and it's about singing as fast as you possibly can. So this and then the lyrics I mean, we sing about zombies and stuff like that, so it's not it's kind of, you can have a lot of fun with the Bloodbath lyrics, because you just try and make them as gory as you possibly can, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a completely different thing. Obviously my voice is the same, but it's about spitting out the lyrics with Bloodbath. There's definitely time. You've got to think about the timing way more, and there's more room for error with the time changes. That's for sure.
Definitely. Now, kind of going back to Paradise Lost, you have so many albums out now. Does it almost get harder to put a set list together when you're playing live?
Yeah, it does. I mean, we did a poll on our Facebook page saying which songs people would like to hear, because we picked the songs we think were live best, and going from years and years of playing them, and I think there was thousands of people responded, and the set list we came back to was pretty much the set list we do anyway, which was weird. So yeah, I mean, I guess you try out songs, and after 3 or 4 shows if they're going to work. Then there's other times you just know songs are going to be great songs to play live. I think the song Ghosts from the new album is going to be a great live song. But yeah, you can never play. There's always somebody who wants a song that you're not playing. Obviously you got 150 songs or whatever it is we've got. There's always there's always going to be something.
Yeah, I'd imagine there's always there has to be at least 3 or 4 albums that probably when you're playing live that almost have to get cut, right?
Yeah, we sort of represent certain periods of the band, and yeah, I mean, stuff around the early 2000s we don't heavily lay on that sort of period. Just the way we are at the moment, I mean, also it depends on the environment you're playing. I mean, the album Host, for example, I mean, to emulate that in a concert with no kind of sound check, or playing at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or something, it'd be nicer to do it in a kind of dark club somewhere. So it depends on the what you've got and how long you've got to sound check, if you've got to sound check. So yeah, we sort of think about just kind of basically setting up and going straight on stage, a lot of the time, because a lot of the time there isn't a lot of time.
Yeah, well, I'd imagine that's actually an interesting point that you bring up, because if you're playing at a festival at the daytime, during the daytime, and the sun is out and everything like that, and it almost has to change the overall mood of a Paradise Lost experience, right?
Yeah, totally. It's and a lot of time we're traveling between. If we're kind of traveling, doing 3 shows in a row, you're usually traveling. You get to the gig like maybe 40 minutes before you go on stage. So a lot of the time there isn't time to be kind of cherry picking and changing set lists, and it depends on But I mean, obviously playing at 11 o'clock at night is going to be better than 11 o'clock in the morning. But whatever it is, you just got to get up there and get it done.
Definitely.
The best that you can.
Of course. For you, is there maybe a similar energy that you put into your live presence as you do when you're songwriting? Is there any sort of creative similarity to that, or is playing live a completely separate art from songwriting?
I find it's a completely different thing altogether, really. You're battling with nerves, battling with we're hoping the concert's going to be okay, hoping the sound's going to be okay, hoping everyone's happy. It's completely different. I mean, I find songwriting quite a relaxed frame of mind. There's only me on my own, and I collaborate with Greg, but he's at home doing his thing. Then we just kind of file share stuff. So it's a completely different thing altogether, really.
Yeah. Do you find it easier when you're more in isolation to come up with songwriting, or do you prefer to be in the company of your other bandmates to have some ideas flow?
No, I'd rather be on my own completely, and I'm pretty sure Greg would say the same thing as well. It's easier on your own, and when you sometimes, if only you think something's bad, if there's two of you writing together and you think it's great, then the next day you think it's rubbish, then it's kind of pointless. At least if it's rubbish, at least only I realise that, and not two of us, and it's just kind of wasting time. You can wait. I think we tried kind of jamming in a traditional sense, and it just sort of wastes time really. So it's easier so you can kind of sit with stuff and live with it a little bit, and then you live with it a few days and see if you still think it's good, and it's sort of easier on your own, I think.
Yeah. You ready for the most difficult question of the whole interview?
Go on.
How do you know when a song is done?
That's pretty much. Actually, we kind of don't finish it. We can keep songs open for months and months. So we don't actually. If we kind of get nowhere with it, we'll shelve it and then come back to it. So that's happened. I think there was one song we started writing in 1989 and we didn't finish it till the last album. So that was about a 30-year gap between it.
Glad we finally got to hear it.
I think it was from the Gallows actually on the last album, because that riff was a really, really old riff. The first riff on the song. But yeah, you just know, it's you just know. It's hard to explain, but yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Then you could think about perhaps flourishes or little bits here and there, or maybe doing a little lead bit here or that kind of thing. The kind of tarting it up, so to speak. But yeah, you just kind of know.
Yeah. Fair enough. It is an instinctual thing. And being that, you work on songs for a longer time, do you find it harder to maybe sort of capture or maintain a moment if you're working on something for a long period of time, or is capturing a moment not even like a priority in the music?
It depends. If you feel like you're hitting a wall, you just got to put it down. It's like anything. I guess if someone's writing a book or painting a picture, if you're just not getting what you want from it, then you need to just put it down and then come back to it. And especially writing lyrics, sometimes you just don't feel very creative. You just can't get the right words. It's better than trying to do it, and then ultimately you might end up doing something that isn't very good, or you get frustrated. It's like trying to sleep when you can't sleep. It's pointless. Yeah. So that's. I just, if I'm having a bad day, I just don't do it that day. It's as simple as that, really, for the writing process.
Yeah, just because, especially with this new album, I thought a song like Ghosts was very, had a different vibe than a song like Serenity, which is different from a song like Hope Dies Young or something like that. I was just, wondering if maybe, songs on each album are almost kind of, representative of an emotion that you or Gregor or anybody was feeling at that particular time.
Perhaps with Greg, yeah, I would definitely think, when he starts writing, he just comes up with... Yeah, perhaps it totally represents how he's feeling when he comes up with the music for it. Yeah, when I heard Ghost, I haven't heard that kind of vibe for a while with the band. We haven't done that kind of song for a very long time, so I was quite excited because it felt really fresh considering we hadn't done it for so long. So, but yeah, I guess when Greg wrote that, he was in a bit of a gothy day. He was having a goth weekend when he wrote that one.
That's all. Isn't every weekend a goth weekend for you guys?
Well, when we can go out, it usually is, yeah.
And I have two more questions for you. One of them is coming from your region of the UK, because I know that you guys are very close with the guys in My Dying Bride, and it almost seems like the UK. You guys are from the Halifax, West Yorkshire area, right?
We're originally from there, and no one's lived there for 25 years, but yeah, we that's where we grew up, yeah.
Yeah. Is there kind of was there always kind of a scene in your area of the UK that you guys were affiliated with, or did you prefer to play outside of your hometown more in order to get Paradise Lost's name out there?
Well, any scene that was probably in Bradford, which is the closest city next to Halifax. It's not very far away from Halifax. We always played away. A lot of our early shows were in Liverpool, and then we went over to Holland quite a lot as well. We seemed to kind of go abroad very early on in our career. And we played Bradford, occasionally, but I can't really say it was a big scene. The more underground metal bands was a lot bigger in Germany and Holland, I think, at that time. So we always kind of went over there a lot in the very early days.
Yeah, and now it just seems... What I've noticed is with the UK, there's always a different type of subgenre of aggressive music. Of course, you can't, with Judas Priest and Maiden and Deep Purple, but then, now I've noticed a lot of metalcore bands are coming out of there. It's kind of unique. It almost seems like there's different waves of a different genre always coming out of the UK.
Yeah, when we started, I mean, we tended to be tagged along with the more hardcore, the UK hardcore bands. So bands like Napalm and Extreme Noise Terror, Ripcord, and all the bands the kind of punk, extreme punk bands. We tended to play in those kind of circles mainly because our music was so extreme, even though it was metal. But at that time, there wasn't a lot of bands doing what we did. Yeah. So we tended to play in the more hardcore punk circles, which we actually loved it. I mean, we still love a lot of that music. We've got very good fond memories of those days.
Yeah, I've noticed that there's a lot of bands who, like, you would never think that they have a hardcore influence, but, like, it seems like a hardcore almost inspired everybody.
Yeah, there was a hell of a lot of it around. I mean, we did, like, a lot of the New York bands. We still do, I do anyway. But yeah, it's a part of. It just kind of went in hand with the more extreme metal music, the hardcore music. It was, it was almost the same, but it didn't have guitar solos. A lot of it, similar kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see people crowd killing at a Paradise Lost show like that, like they do at an Agnostic Front show. If you do a show with Agnostic Front, that would be like the best contrast in any bill ever.
Well, we have played on the same bill as them many times, but different stages or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah. And the final question I wanted to ask you is I don't know, I'm not sure if you're aware of this or not, but I hear so many bands that I've interviewed in the past have taken inspiration from Paradise Lost. Like, one of them being My Dying Bride, but another one being like Catatonia and Lacuna Coil and His Infernal Majesty and so many other bands. When you hear on how somebody connects with either your lyricism or your music or even inspires them creatively, does that influence you in any way, shape, or form?
It's just very flattering. I mean, it's great. I mean, it's great that people can take something from it. I mean, it's the same way that guys in other bands that are a few years older than us, bands such as like Celtic Frost were massive influence for us. I guess you kind of look to the guys that are a little bit older than you are and making the music, which is what we did with like Candlemass and Celtic Frost and Death and bands like that. So yeah, I mean, it's very flattering. Yeah, of course.
Of course. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Really enjoyed this discussion. Is there just anything with Paradise Lost that you would like to promote? Obviously, Obsidian is scheduled to come out on May 15th. Is there, obviously, thanks to a virus that shall not be named, is currently on tour and screwing everybody else's tour up. But I'd imagine once this clears, we'll probably be seeing you on the road a lot, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as soon as we can get back to the US, yeah, we're going to be there. Yeah, the last tour was great. We really enjoyed it. It was a really nice tour. It wasn't too long, too short. It was just right, and we really enjoyed it. So hopefully, yeah, we can. When all this is gone, we can get back over there. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We had a great time at the Gramercy Theater. That was a very, very memorable show.
Cool, man. Yeah, no, it was a good one. We really enjoyed that one. It was great.
Yeah, thank you. But again. Thank you so much, everybody. Nick of Paradise Lost, Obsidian coming out on Nuclear Blast May 15th. Buy it then when supplies officially last forever. And we'll see you next time on Heavy New York.